Hi everyone, my name is Tyler. In case we haven't met before, I'm one of your diving instructors for Deep, and I'm very excited to welcome you to the program, and I can't wait to work with you in the water soon. The purpose of this video is to give you hopefully a concise and efficient delivery system of information in terms of what kind of equipment we need to be buying for the Deep course, what's the thought process that goes into buying equipment for scientific diving applications, and to tell you about our exciting program we have with Marin Diving Center. They'll give you a lot of discounts when you buy your equipment. So I'll make this as efficient as I can, and I'll dive right into it. So I'll start with the last one first. With Marin Diving Center, we basically have a occupational buying discount through them. So us being San Francisco State divers, we can go to them and get wholesale pricing off of their equipment for our purposes. So this basically gives us about a 40% off discount. And in the email you found this video is also going to be a spreadsheet of gear packages. And a lot of these packages are just off that rough 40% estimate. So they may not be the total final discount that we get, but I've been quoted about 40% in terms of what we can buy from. So that's what those prices mean. And also, so that's the exciting program we have with Marin Diving Center. If you want to buy gear, I recommend going through them because we have that great discount available to you. And what gear should you buy? Well, there's a few different philosophies that we kind of need to think about before we buy something, especially for scuba. The first my approach is thinking with the end in mind. And that means when I'm about to buy something, when I'm about to use something, I want to work ahead and then kind of scale backwards. So if we buy something that's cheap and just, easy now, it may not last us the whole progression of our career. And we have to rebuy other things to eventually replace them because they don't work anymore. So we want to think with that mindset, and the gear that I selected definitely has these different scalable applications that you can use throughout your diving career. Also, we want something that's going to be hopefully minimalist. So we don't want overly complex systems. A lot of failure points is our main thing we're concerned about, things that can break in the field that prevents us from doing our work. We want something that's going to be proven and it's going to be high quality, that's going to last us while we're in the water doing our work. We also want something that's going to be modular. So hopefully we want a system that has the ability to upgrade and change out parts so we're not having to replace the entire system if it breaks. So we want something that has that modularity to it. And again, the information I'm giving to you now is just my personal philosophy. I've been teaching in the industry for almost 10 years, and I've been giving presentations and educational programs on equipment specifically, so I have a lot of background in being a gear nerd essentially. So that's where I come from. And if you have different questions, feel free to ask any of the instructors, but know that all of us probably have different preferences and whatnot. So hopefully, as I explain the packages to you and why I've selected them, you'll kind of see where I'm coming from in terms of why I think this is the preferred equipment you should be buying for your scientific diving for the class so you can get the most out of it, but also that's going to last you the longest throughout your hopefully long scientific diving career. So let's dive in, no pun intended. So on this spreadsheet, you have two packages, A and B. A is going to be the cheapest gear. Basically, I just looked through everything that we have available, and this I feel is the best value at the lowest cost. Package B is going to be what my preference is. If I was in your position, this is the gear I would be buying for myself. That's a little bit more high quality, but it's also a little bit more expensive. So with regulators, let's get started with regulators first. With regulators, we want something that has high performance. We want something that's going to deliver us consistent performance when we're working underwater. So for that reason, I selected Apex. The world record for deepest dive is done off these regulators. I've used them for years. They're bulletproof. I know and trust their design because I've serviced a lot and fixed a lot of these regulators. The biggest difference between these regulators versus other manufacturers is these ones have extremely high value to them for the cost price. So you can spend thousands of dollars on a regulator. These ones are nowhere near that in price, especially with our discount. So these are going to be nice mid-range regulators that still deliver world-class performance. So with the regulators, the first stage, we want to be balanced. A balanced diaphragm is what these guys are. And these terminology you'll learn more about in the equipment section of our class, but that's just what the terminology is. So this balanced regulator delivers a consistent performance throughout your dive, so you're not having to work harder at the end as your input pressure from your cylinder drops. So a great design. This is for the package B, the XTX50. It's their mid-range. It's not even their highest regulator that they sell, but it's the one I've used, and it's great, basically, value for that reason. Also, the package B one has the swivel design here, so the hoses don't fray out. The hoses will last longer with this port system. Both regulators have an environmental end cap, and that means that the first stage stays dry the entire dive. You can buy other regulators that are a lot cheaper that are unbalanced or have this open exposed end cap, because this is an additional feature that costs money, of course. And basically that performance is going to change throughout the dive, but also this regulator is suited for cold water. So if you want to dive Monterey when it's very cold in the wintertime, or if you want to dive in Antarctic someday, ice diving, this regulator will not freeze on you when you're diving in very cold waters. That's why we like environmental design regulators. The X650 also has an adjustable knob. So there's two different adjustment systems for how you can breathe the regulator. The Venturi Assist, which is what both regulators have, and the manual adjustment just gives an extra level of performance so you can refine how easy it is to breathe. Or if you want to tighten it down, you want to conserve your gas, or just really open it up so you want the best breathing regulator possible. So that's that feature. Package A has the ATX40, which is basically going to be another lower mid-range regulator, but it's the lowest I could find that still is cold water compatible. Does not have the manual adjustment knob, but that's fine. Still a great value there. So great breathing, Apex, I recommend them. There's other manufacturers, feel free to check them out, but those are the features I recommend looking at specifically. For computers, everybody should realistically have a computer just because it's another level of safety in addition to our dive planning. These computers are the ones I've selected as the lowest or best value. The i100 is for package A, very cheap regulator. Both these have nitrox, free diving mode, gauge mode, all these things that you might need if you want to go fun diving, for free diving, or whatever. These are great computers for that reason. The i300, I believe this one is. This is for package B. This is a little bit more sleek, a little bit smaller, a little bit more bells and whistles on it. If you want something that's really high feature, if you want something that you just want one computer that's going to last you your entire career, message me privately and I can give you some information as far as of what other computers you can buy if cost is less of an issue to you. So these computers, great value there. Also, these are wrist mounted, so much easier to refer to your gauge on your wrist versus moving your slate or clipping off to you to unclip your console to look at your depth and bottom profile essentially and clip it back. So much easier just to look down at your computer than having to do that. So going on to BCDs. This is the BCD system you're probably most accustomed with. This is a jacket style BCD system. Personally, I have not used these in many years because they're not, in my opinion, advantageous for scientific diving. The reason why is they have lots of failure points on these systems. So lots of plastic clips that can break. If you're in the fields, something lands on a clip, it breaks, you can't go in the water and do your work. That's kind of a bad thing. Also, these systems ride up. It's very hard to get them fitting to you exactly for your body style. You usually have to clamp down on these straps, and even then they'll ride up on you. If you move your neck, they'll give you a rash sometimes. So not the most comfortable I found in my experience. Again, there's definitely exceptions, but that's what I found personally. They have pockets integrated into them, but they're so high up, they're really awkward to use and get to. They have weight systems, but virtually every diver I know, including myself, has had these jettisoned accidentally at some point during their career. So I don't personally like the quick release system. I like a weight belt, a little bit more secure in my opinion. So for all these reasons, jacket style, in my opinion, is not the best method to use for scientific diving. So this system that I recommend in package A and B is called a backplate and wing system. And the main difference, as you can see, is it's extremely minimalist. So there's not a lot of failure points here that can break. So everything here you see, this harness system is all one piece of nylon webbing. So the good news about that is it's extremely comfortable because they're basically can adjust it to exactly your body dimension. So it fits extremely well, more comfortable than any other BCD system I've used before in the past. Also, because it's just a weight belt, if it breaks after or gets so worn after 1,000 dive, which is what mine probably is right now, you can replace the whole thing for about $30. It's just a weight belt. So very easy, very modular to replace. You also can adjust all the different D-rings exactly to where you want them versus these systems that have them sewn in place. There's places to attach different pockets, light canisters. You want to do more advanced diving, or you have just a knife system that's accessible with both hands. Very well thought out configuration system. Lots of documented research on the system. It's what cave divers use, technical divers. It's a try and prove system that many scientific divers use, and the one that I use and advocate for. Also, if you notice, the BCD, the bladder, this is the wing, is separate from the actual backplate system. So this wing is able to upgrade and change throughout different platforms and diving. So when I dive a single tank, I'll put this wing on. If I want to go into doubles, just basically take your backplate off, put it into a doubles wing or a rebreather wing. This can scale with you throughout your diving career. You don't have to rebuy something later on. It's just easy to do in that regard. Also, with the backplate itself, generally it's aluminum or stainless steel. I recommend stainless steel for our cold water diving here. It's a little less travel friendly because it weighs about 6 pounds, but it puts the weight on your back over your lungs where you need it versus having all this weight down at your waist that drags your hips down for less ideal body position and trim. So, very good holistic system. I highly recommend it. Feel free to ask me any questions you have additional to that. But in the interest of brevity, I'll keep moving forward. With our SPG system, this again is a console system that probably most of you are familiar with. I don't advocate this. As a technician, I have seen far too many gauges that have just become horribly corroded because salt water and sand gets behind here. They never get clean because they're hard to open and clean and remove. These also can trap bubbles. So if your high pressure spool O-ring fails here and starts bubbling, it traps those bubbles so you can't see them as easily, so it's hard to diagnose in the field. But also, they're a little bit clunkier, a little bit more bulky. You have to have clips and attachment points here. I don't advocate consoles for that reason. So instead, I recommend a minimalist system, which is what the packages have. I recommend a 24-inch high-pressure hose. That's about the right length for 90% people, just so that you're not having an overly long hose. It's not bowing out and causing drag, or something that's too short and it's hard to reach. So a 24-inch hose, a simple brass gauge with a glass-facing plates is going to be preferred versus a plastic gauge. So this system is about $70 for everything, which I think is a pretty good deal for all the hardware. Basically, simple brass gauge, no boot accessories. The one with trap salt water, expose or entrap bubbles and failures. You can get a medium size gauge if you want a little bit bigger screen to read from, or if you want just a simple minimalist. I use a thin gauge; it's a little bit easier, more streamlined. So both those options are on the packages too. Next, we have our fins. So fins, especially for the first week, fins, mask, snorkel are going to be very important. For fins, obviously you want ones that fit you well and comfortably. In fin design system, you want an open heel so you can put your booty in easily for shore diving or for boat diving. These fins I've selected also have spring straps. So the spring straps just lift up and they snap into place with the springs. You don't have to worry about plastic buckles breaking on you if they were to break when you're in the field doing work. So spring straps are great for that. Basically with the fins too, I've selected and prefer the solid blade fins. So the blade fins basically don't have the split to them like split fins, but mainly this is great for backwards kicking. So in our first session, I'll be teaching you guys the frog kicking, helicopter turns, and backwards kicking. So you actually can go backwards just by kicking. It's extremely effective and efficient for working underwater, and you can't do that technique with split fins, or it's extremely difficult to. So you want a fin that has a nice high sidewall to catch the water when you're trying to do a backwards kick. Also has a solid blade to make really efficient, low energy kicks like frog kicking. So these are the Deep 6 Eddy fins in package B, the ones that I personally use. I'm a total fin slut. I've used every type of fin you can imagine. These are my favorite ones I've arrived at so far. These are the Apex Rocket 3 fins. These are in package A, a little bit cheaper. The fins a little bit looser, more of elastic consistency, so it's not as powerful. Both these fins are neutrally buoyant, so you can buy negatively buoyant fins, which are good for dry suit diving. But the downside if you're not using a dry suit is it can bring your feet down like this, and so it could be, putting your feet on the corals or on the kelp, basically the benthics. So you want to have neutrally buoyant fins that brings our body position to a much more neutral horizontal position. So these are the fins I recommend for that. The last thing, as we get more into accessories, these are our pocket systems. So unlike the awkward pockets, these neoprene pullover shorts put the pocket exactly where you need them to be. Very convenient at your thighs, essentially. And then you can attach all the different safety equipment or your scientific tools in your pockets. Makes it much more easy. These are a little bit more expensive. The Apex shorts are a little bit more higher quality in package B. They're about $100 our price. These ones are $50 in package A. Or you can get a pocket, just an easy $25 pocket that will loop into your harness that I mentioned in the harness system. So all these are good options to use. I personally like the pocket shorts, but if you just want a simple pocket, these work great as well. And that's basically the equipment in a nutshell. And then a quick notes on some of the packages as well that I haven't have pictures with me. With wetsuits, unfortunately, there's different water temperatures for California and Hawaii, so we dive in both platforms through the course. You'll probably need a 7mm wetsuit for California and a 3mm wetsuit for Hawaii. So I recommend if you want to save money, maybe invest in a 3mm because we're going to be diving in Hawaii more than here, and then rent a 7mm here. Or if you can buy 7mm and rent either way. You also could buy both. I've listed both options in package B, which is why it's a little more expensive. Get a wetsuit that fits you the best. In my experience, I have had extremely good success with Aqualung wetsuits. They're a little bit cheaper, which is why they're in package A. And as a 5'10" male, I found that the Bear wetsuits fit me great, and that's why they're in package B. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're extremely warm, very good. Get something that's just warm. If you want to save money, if you want to go on Craigslist for the wetsuit, that's fine. As long as it fits you and it'll keep you warm, that's all you need. For booties, you can get something that's a 5mm consistency. That's going to be warm enough for California, but also you can use them in Hawaii without having these big 7mm boots to deal with. For a snorkel, I recommend the fold-up snorkels. So there's some that are linked in the spreadsheets on the email. The fold-up snorkel, basically you can take the snorkel off your mask, roll it up, and stick it in your pocket, which is the best place for a snorkel. If you put a snorkel here while you're diving, it just is an entanglement hazard to your inflator hose or to your regulator. Or if you have a long hose regulator system like I do. So the snorkel does nothing underwater anyway, so just take it off, roll it up, put it in a pocket. It's done. It's so much easier and more comfortable to dive with. With a mask, you want to have a mask that fits you. So that's the biggest thing. That's why I didn't link a mask. The best mask is the one that fits you. So go to a dive shop, go to a Marin Diving Center, try them on. I recommend masks with a black skirt that basically gives you a more clear image versus all this like ambient light that seeps in through the clear material. So I like dark skirts mask. The best way to see if a mask fits you is to take the mask and push it to your face and do not suck. If you suck hard enough, you will make any mask fit to you through your nose. So just push the mask, create a vacuum that way. If it falls off, it doesn't fit you. Or if you have a caterpillar on your lip like I do, then you're kind of out of luck because they don't seal as well. But you put lubricants over here like a Vaseline that helps it seal too. So get a mask that fits you. Gear bag options. There's different bag that works. No price, no recommendations really. The ones I've listed I think are good values, and there's a little bit more durable one for the package B, a little bit more cost effective, travel friendly for package A. So in a nutshell, that's it for equipment. To recap, go to Marin Diving Center, either call them or go there in person to try on the gear, or in person. I recommend Apex and Aqualung. Just because they offer tremendous value. There's lots of different manufacturers that they offer too, but they're, in my opinion, going to be a little bit more higher priced than the features that they offer. So just different preferences, but again, take advantage of that association we have with them so you can get that discount, because we do understand it's very expensive to buy your equipment. To recap what I mentioned with these different systems, I recommend Apex regulators. The environmentally designed cap on the first stage will make it preventing from freezing. A balanced first stage design will give it consistent, easy performance throughout the dive. The manual adjustment is a nice feature for package B. You don't need it exactly. And then you have just the Venturi knob for easy adjustments of your breathing effort for the regulators in package A. For computers, these are just the two I recommend that offer good value for a lower price. If you want something with more bells and whistles, more features, let me know. I'll give you a recommendation there too. For the BCD system, I've explained kind of why I don't like the jacket style as much, because there's more failure points. They're not quite as comfortable. The backplate system, I think, is going to last you longer throughout your career, and it'll go throughout different configurations, or it can be easily changed out. And because they're modular, you can travel with them easier too. So that's why I like the backplate and wing system. For our SPGs and SPGs, I recommend just the gauge with the hose. There's also a brass clip linked in the packages so you can attach it to your equipment. The consoles entrap salt and sand, so they're not recommended for long-term maintenance. For fins, get something with a nice high sidewall, solid fin blade, not split fins. Both fins are fine, or something of comparable design. Get something that has a spring strap if possible, or make sure it fits into your booties when you buy them as well too. Pocket shorts are a nice option. It's nice to have a pocket at least. If you don't want to spend the money on the pocket shorts, at least get one pocket for 25 bucks. Good value there too. So thanks for your attention throughout the video, and I look forward to seeing the water soon. Feel free to email me if you have any questions, and we'll see you in the water.